You are Locked On Warriors Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the Golden State Warriors had to lose a road game Sunday, and today turned out to be that day as they fell 136 to 117 to the Cavs, and man, it really wasn't that close. The Warriors simply missed a lot more shots than the Cavaliers, who poured in 83 points and 14 threes all before the half. And after trailing by 41 at the end of the second quarter, the second half of this game could have just been a formality for the Golden State Warriors, but they never gave up and played much better in the final two quarters tonight and gave themselves something to build on going into Oklahoma City. The biggest bright spot tonight for the Dubs in this loss, Jonathan Kaminga, who's been a lot more active on defense and is really finding his jump shot. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. However you're tuning in, we appreciate you making us your first listen following these Warriors games. And make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors Daily Show for more in-depth coverage as your second listen. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to win $50 instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. As I said in the open, it was an incredibly slow start for the Warriors. I mean, this one, for all intents and purposes, we could have wrapped this game up really at the end of the first quarter, not even at the end of the half. But, I mean, the Cavs just could not miss from three-point range. The Warriors' defense wasn't that bad to start this game. But I feel like the more shots the Cavs hit in that first quarter, the more the Warriors started to get down on themselves. You saw some bad body language out there in the first quarter. And to be frank, I don't know how you don't have bad body language when you have guys across from you just drilling shots like that when you're playing good defense. And sometimes, you know, in basketball, good offense beats good defense. And that's just what was happening today. The Warriors, conversely, could not buy a bucket for that first stretch in that first quarter. They really got buried. The Cavs went on an 18-0 run in that first quarter, and it was just all downhill for the Warriors from there. I mean, the Cavs led wire to wire. The Warriors didn't lead for a single second of this game, and it really came from everywhere on the Cavs. I mean, everybody in the starting lineup was giving them problems. I mean, Mobley is a huge mismatch for the Warriors. They did nothing but send him to the free throw line tonight because they didn't really have an answer for him defensively. Mobley in 26 minutes, he had 23 points, 7 of 12 from the field and 9 of 10 from the free throw line. He also had a couple blocks and a steal. The Cavs as a whole had 7 blocks tonight. That size was a big problem for the Warriors. They just couldn't. They didn't really have too many answers. And when you have a team like the Cavs that has this amount of size, I mean, you got Mobley and Jared Allen both in the same starting lineup, and yet they drilled 20 3-pointers, 14 in the first half. I mean, thankfully for the Warriors, the Cavs really cooled off in the second half, shooting from downtown. I mean, they only hit 6 of them in the second half. They were at one point in this game well over 50% from three-point range, and they ended 48.8% from three-point land, which is still amazing. And the Cavs, 10-0 on the season now, one of the best teams in the NBA, the only remaining undefeated team. And I'm sitting here watching this team thinking that they have every piece of a title contender. I mean, this team looks to me like they are going to challenge Boston for the Eastern Conference, and I maybe that's a big thing to take away from an early season game that we've only had. You know, this is only the 10th game of the season for the Cavs, but the way this team is playing with former Warriors assistant coach Kenny Atkinson at the helm, this offense looks completely unlocked. Mobley looks like he's taken a huge step forward. I mean, this team is scary. This team is really good. The bench isn't super deep, although you wouldn't have known tonight watching former Warrior Ty Jerome going out there and giving the Dubs the work. 20 points and a plus 13 plus minus for the former Warrior. Ty Jerome, 7 of 8 from the field, 3 of 3 from three-point land. The Warriors could have used that tonight. They really didn't shoot super well from three-point in this one, 31%, but it wasn't terrible either. The second half was much improved for the Warriors. For them to lose by less than 20 in this one, I think was a really good sign, because this team didn't, even though they showed all that bad body language in that first quarter, they bounced back from it. I mean, the bench, which pretty much wrapped up the last, quarter and a half of this game, really did a solid job, not just rolling over it. Brandon Pajemski, Moses Moody, especially. Moses Moody, man, the coast-to-coast play that he had, that was really nice. That emphatic dunk that he had in that final minute. Moses Moody plays every second of every game, and that is one thing that Warriors fans love about this guy. I mean, there's a whole, rabid contingency of this fan base that is just clamoring for Moody to get more minutes, has been for quite some time. And it makes sense. I understand why. A guy gives you a ton of effort all over the floor, offense and defense, running in transition, and he usually is in the right place at the right time, making solid plays. I really like what I saw from the Warriors in the second half, especially in that fourth quarter. It would have been so easy to just say, we got OKC next. We've been on this long, grueling road trip. I mean, this was game 4 of the road trip. Game 5 is coming up next. And then you go home and you have a super emotional game where Klay Thompson comes and plays his first game back in Chase Center wearing another uniform. And so you just have so many things that you could start looking ahead to and just completely check out of this game. The Warriors did not do that. They were down 41, and they rallied back and fought back tooth and nail in the second half. Yeah, it was a moral victory, if you want to call it that, but I do believe that this is something that this team can build on. They really buckled down on the three-point shooting defense in the second half, and Cleveland just also stopped being so damn hot from beyond the arc. That just had to happen eventually, but you're not going to have Steph Curry with a minus 25 plus minus every night. With 6 turnovers for Steph, it's far too many. This comes on the heels of that storyline. We didn't really talk about it last show, but Kerr kind of snapped at Steph after making a bad turnover last game against the Celtics. He tried to throw a full court pass down to Kyle Anderson. It was basically like, we've talked about it before. Like, they love these quarterback style football passes where they throw it the length of the court, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And in this situation against the Celtics in their last game, it didn't work out. The Celtics basically intercepted that ball. It looked like the Patriots picking off Brock Purdy, but instead it was the Celtics swiping away a Steph Curry pass, and ended up resulted in a 3-pointer on the other end of the floor for the Celtics. Kerr called timeout and immediately started ripping into Steph. And everybody talked about this in the last couple of days, and how Steph was asked about it. He said he likes to remain coachable, wants to show the other guys on the team that, hey, Kerr can yell at me too. He can yell at you. This is how this goes. I need to remain coachable. And I love hearing all that stuff. All that is great. Where did any of that go today? I know that they had to press a little bit to try and dig themselves out of this hole, and that is part of the reason that you have 17 total turnovers as a team. But Steph, man, I mean, this is not a team that is going to be able to recover from 17, 18, 19, 20 turnovers in a game. This team just doesn't have the kind of luxury as it did before. There's no Kevin Durant to shoot you out of that kind of a slump, to cover up all those mistakes. You can't just make up for it with threes anymore. That's not really what you can do with this Warriors squad. Also, the rest of the league has caught up to the Warriors in the sense of the thriving in chaos type of play. The Warriors used to be able to afford a play like that or two to kind of keep the chaos flowing, because the Warriors thrive so well in that chaos. But guess what? So do the Cleveland Cavaliers, as we saw tonight. So the Warriors can't just play as freely and loose and just, on like taking all these chances that they used to. You just don't have a team that can recover from things if they go bad at this point. That's not what this team can do. It is a very solid team, though, that can play great defense, hit shots when they're open, and someone will get hot more often than not. And tonight, the one person who got hot was Jonathan Kaminga, man. And I did really enjoy watching Kaminga out there doing his thing. And we talked about this a lot on the show so far this season. In the non-Steph minutes last season is when Kaminga really, really, really showed us that he was taking some of these other steps forward. He was showing us that he could be a number one scoring option on the court in this league. Tonight, Jonathan Kaminga pretty much had the entire second half to just go run freely out there. He led the Warriors in minutes, led the Warriors in points, and he was really active on. He led them didn't lead them in rebounds. Sorry, he had 6, and the leader was Pajemski and Looney both had 7, but 6 boards, 5 assists. Kaminga was all over the place on the floor tonight, a steal and a block as well for him. I really, really, really liked what I saw from Kaminga, especially considering, this is a young guy who could very, very, very easily start doing those things that we were just talking about a little bit earlier, looking ahead, hanging his head, getting down on himself, and could have just easily waved the white flag in this game. And we all know Kaminga's attitude hasn't always been the best as a Golden State Warrior. Let's just call it what it is. He and Steve Kerr have had their somewhat public sparring with Kaminga wanting to be a starter, and Kerr kind of saying, well, then earn it. And Kaminga really doing what he could tonight, showcasing what his abilities are in the playing time he got, regardless of the situation, continuing to push and try and grow, and that is what the Warriors need him to do. Let's go over what Jonathan Kaminga did, and he did a lot tonight. I really liked what I saw from him on the other side. That's what's next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. Today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 10 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports, and unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks. With as little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Think Steph Curry will get more than 4 3-pointers next week? I sure do. Anthony Edwards for more than 27 points? Well, cook up some hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Today's show is also sponsored by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You will get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors got smacked by the Cavaliers, but did bounce back in the second half and gave themselves something to build on before they go and play OKC, which looks like it's just going to absolutely dominate the Western Conference this year. I thought OKC was going to be the team to beat in the West last year. Didn't end up being that way, but I mean, they look like they've taken even a bigger step forward this season. That young core and with Shea, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Chet Holmgren, I mean, that team is scary, and they have a lot of the same. They're going to pose a lot of the same problems to the Warriors that they saw today. The size is a big deal with Oklahoma City. Chet is a monster. You have Hartstein down there too. I mean, Shea is a big point guard. You have a lot of size on OKC that you're going to have to deal with. And then you look at the next game after that, Dallas. They have a ton of size too. That team is monstrous. They can run out a lineup where the smallest guy is Luka Doncic playing point guard at 6'7". That's insane. Like, that team is massive. And the Warriors, they struggle with these bigger teams, especially ones that can shoot. And guess what? OKC and Dallas can both shoot the cover off the ball. It's going to be these next 2 games are going to be telling. This stretch for the Warriors is really telling of where they sit in the lexicon of the NBA. And if they're going to compete with these teams that are at the upper echelon of the league, they're going to need some guys to take steps forward. And number 1 is Jonathan Kaminga. We've talked about this all season long. He had kind of a little bit of a sluggish start to the season, first few games, and since then has really started playing a lot better. His His shot has started falling. He had 3 threes tonight. At one point, he was 3 of 5 from 3, ended up 3 of 7. So it's still not too bad, just below 50% from beyond the arc. I would love to see Jonathan Kaminga make 3 of 7 threes almost every single game. I mean, maybe he doesn't need to take 7 threes every game, but you get what I'm saying. Like, the improved jumper from JK completely changes how you have to defend him. Right now, guys are gapping him, and they're giving him that jumper, especially off the dribble. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. I don't love Jonathan Kaminga creating his own shot, his own jump shot off the dribble. I'm happy with him creating his own shot when he's driving to the hole off the dribble. I don't want to see him trying to do Steph Curry, crossovers and step back threes. Like, I just don't need Jonathan Kaminga doing that. He's got a pretty solid set shot from 3 when it's open. And I think that's where he needs to live. He was also 4 of 6 from the free throw line. Seems like he has every night. It seems like he's missed at least 1 or 2 from the line. I would really like to see him just not miss just one game where he just doesn't miss a free throw. Would be really good to see. Shooting is the thing that we have pointed to for the entire time that Jonathan Kaminga has been on the Golden State Warriors as the one thing that he needs to get better at to really improve his offensive ability. I mean, he is elite rim runner. He is, top 1% of athletes in the NBA. This guy is crazy athletic, crazy fast, can jump out of the building. His fast twitch reflexes are, off the charts. And if he could apply some of that to the defensive side of the ball, man, this guy could be one of the best defenders in the NBA, could lock down anybody physically. He has the capability to do that. He just needs to work on his footwork. He needs to work on his desire, honestly. And I do think that both of those things have gotten better this year. I think that the whole team has stepped up defensively this year. Jerry Stackhouse has been a big part of that on the coaching staff. And obviously, Draymond Green, Brandon Podziemski, and Kevon Looney, and all the rest of this team leads by example. Andrew Wiggins as well. This team is a very strong defensive team. A lot of really great on-ball defenders. Kaminga can turn into one of those guys. And that would be excellent for the Warriors if they could have another, another Andrew Wiggins on defense running around out there. It would change how this Warriors team can match up on these outside perimeter shooters. If Kaminga can start becoming more of that on-ball defender, which I think he totally has the capability to do so. Look how athletic this guy is. There's no real excuse as to why he can't do that. And I'm not saying he's a bad defender, but he could be elite if he wanted to work on it. And that would be, he's the one piece that has the most room to grow on this Warriors team. Everybody else, Trace Jackson Davis has a lot of room to grow. Brandon Podziemski has a lot of room to grow. All these guys can get better. They have a lot of youth on this roster. But this season, the one guy who can improve the most, in my opinion, is Jonathan Kaminga. And we kind of know what Brandon Podziemski is going to give you. He gives you a ton of effort, heart, hustle. He's in the right place defensively all the time. He's not the guy who can go and create his own shot all the time on offense. Jonathan Kaminga can give you an added dimension that this team is really missing, because as we saw when Steph was out, there were stretches where this Warriors team, the offense wasn't flowing and nobody could really get a shot, and they struggled to have anybody out there who could just go get a bucket when they needed it. Jonathan Kaminga can be that guy. He just needs to take the step forward tonight. I really liked what I saw from him. I think that he showed us that he's moving in that direction. The never quit mentality that he showed tonight, I thought was a big deal. I thought that the fourth quarter and second half in general that Jonathan Kaminga put out there tonight, we've seen him have better games. 21 points isn't like a career high for Kaminga or anything like that. It is, we've seen him do this before. But to me, to my eyes, what I saw was Kaminga was the only guy out there on the Warriors who was able to figure out this Cavs defense and was able to figure out how to start scoring. I guess Moses Moody too at the very end there, but this Warriors starting lineup, Steph had 12 points. Wiggins had 11. Draymond had 6. TJD had 3. The starting lineup did not do a whole lot scoring wise tonight for the Warriors. They did not figure out this Cavs defense. They could not figure out all of the size that the Cavs had and how to score against it. Jonathan Kaminga was the equalizer. He can also be that equalizer against a lot of these teams in the West that the Warriors are going to have to go through if they want to contend in the playoffs. got a couple of them coming up next, OKC and Dallas. These are two huge teams, and you're going to need JK to be able to step up and be a guy against those two teams, because they're going to give you a lot of problems on the offensive end, or on their defensive end, on the Warriors' offensive end. It's going to be tough to score against those big teams, especially teams that are big on the perimeter. Both of those teams are. It's tough. It's the Western Conference is, I mean, as tough as it's ever been this year. And the Warriors, although they are much improved, and I do expect this team to, I think they've shown us enough now that we can say that this team is a playoff team. Are they title contenders? I don't know about that. I think that this start has been great. 7-2, excellent start to the season still, despite the loss today. A 5-1 start on the road. You'll go to OKC on Sunday to round out this road trip, this 5-game road trip. And that's another measuring stick game. It was a tough go for the Warriors tonight. But I'm not saying that, as I saw someone say in the chat earlier, someone said, Andrew, my guy Andrew, is saying it's pretty sad that the Warriors can't beat the Cavs. Well, my guy Andrew, 9 other teams have also not beaten the Cavs this year. Nobody has beaten the Cavs this year. So, hey, I don't think it's that sad that the Warriors couldn't beat the Cavs. They were bound to lose a game on the road eventually. If you're going to lose a game, might as well lose to the team that's still undefeated in the NBA. The Cavs have rolled over every other team that they've played so far this year. This is a really, really, really good team. It's not, I would say that this is probably the outlier for the Warriors. I don't expect them to look like this very often. I mean, I don't expect Steph to just hit 1-3 very often. I don't expect him to have a -25 plus minus in 24 minutes very often. This was the outlier game for the Warriors. We got a ton more to go over in this one, and not a lot of show left. I mean, this one had just so many storylines. The Cavs with their bigs, the Warriors looking healthy again for the first time in a while. The Anthony Melton comes back, didn't really make a big difference but the main thing that I gleaned from this game, the Warriors' ability to bounce back from taking that haymaker from the Cavs and being able to finish this game with a deficit less than 20. I think that's a little bit of a moral victory. You got to take what you can take from a game like this. That's what I'm taking away from this Warriors game. A little bit more to go over on this show. I mean, just so much from the Warriors tonight. But the Cavs, though, I think this was really more about the Cavs really running the Warriors out of the gym than the Warriors, playing super bad. Offensively, scored 117 points. Defensively, yeah, could have been better at times, but it's not like they were terrible. The second half, they got a lot better. Let's go into all of that on the other side. Stick with us on the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. That's what's next on the Locked On Warriors postcast. This episode is also brought to you by SKIMS. Even though I wear underwear every day, I've not switched up the type of underwear I bought since college. For those who haven't heard yet, SKIMS now offers men's underwear, and I'm here to tell you it's worth the hype. I feel like at this point I've tried every boxer brief in the game, but nothing ever fits just right. I think we can finally have a winner, guys. SKIMS came out with their cotton 5-inch boxer brief, and it honestly puts other brands to shame. They hit right at the thigh and just stay there. That's the key. They don't move around. They don't bag out. They don't give you that 5 p.m. wedgie. If you're a boxer brief guy like me, this is the one. Shop SKIMS Mens at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for the whole family, SKIMS just launched their biggest holiday shop ever, also available at skims.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. Tonight, the Warriors 136-117 loss to the Cavs, and they struggled to get through this game, just like my voice is struggling to get through this show right now, man. I've been sick the last couple days. I apologize. I'm super raspy right now, but we're going to get through it and finish out this show. The Warriors, they started off terribly. But again, the number one thing to glean from this is that this team didn't die. I've not once this season seen this team just roll over and wave the white flag. That is something that last year's team did too frequently, if I'm being honest. I mean, we remember last year's game in Boston where they ended up losing by 50 something, and this felt like it could be the same thing. It felt like it was going to go the same exact way. The Boston Celtics last year, drilling threes, just put the Warriors in this insurmountable hole. and they looked like they just wanted to leave at halftime. And here against the Cavs, the Warriors ended up fighting back. That game against Boston, they lost by like 50 something. This game against the Cavs, they lost by less than 20. That is a massive, massive indicator that this team has a lot more fight in it than they did last year. And last year's team got to the play-in and got bounced pretty early. This year's team, I expect more from them. I expect a playoff berth, not a play-in berth, a playoff berth. And I do expect this team to I think that they could win a first-round matchup depending on who they draw. The West is incredibly tough, as we know. But this team has shown me that they can compete with the best teams in the NBA so far. We've seen two of them. It's been a small sample size, the Celtics and the Cavs. And I know they got smacked by the Cavs tonight, but they didn't lay down and die. And the way that they responded in the second half, they won the second half decidedly. And that tells me that this team has what it takes to be able to beat this Cavs team, when they're not shooting 80-something% from three-point range for half the game. And this is something I expect the Warriors to be able to move past. A next pitch mentality. I know we're talking basketball, not baseball, but that's what the Warriors got to tell themselves is next pitch. We got the Thunder coming up next. Put this one behind you. As my favorite movie as a kid was Lion King. And my favorite line, one of my favorite lines from Pumbaa was, you got to put your behind in the past. And that's what the Warriors got to do. You got to put their behind in the past, move on, go take on OKC. And, there were some good things about the Warriors tonight, despite the fact that the Cavs had all the size. The Warriors actually had the advantage in points in the paint, 60-42. So that is something, that's a good thing that we could glean from this. They didn't get completely destroyed in the rebound battle. It was 53 for the Cavs, 46 for the Dubs. So despite the fact that you are, quite literally punching above your weight, if you're the Warriors, you're still tough. This team is still tough and gritty, and they will find ways to kind of equalize that. The one thing that they didn't have an answer for tonight was the perimeter shooting for the Cavs with that big size, because the Warriors, as we've talked about a lot this season, are great on those closeouts. They're excellent on the defensive rotations, especially this season. But when the other team is that much taller than you, those closeouts are going to be less effective. They're not going to bother you as much. And that's what we saw from the Cavs tonight. It felt like everybody on the Cleveland Cavaliers dropped in a three-pointer. The only guy who didn't was Tristan Thompson, who's, I can't believe, is still in the league, and Tyson, Jalen Tyson for the Cavs also did not hit a three. Almost everybody else on this team, no Jared Allen threes, but Garland hit 6 of them. Mitchell hit a couple. Okoro hit 4 of them. That's just the starters. The Cavs were just dropping them in from everywhere tonight. 20 3-pointers for the Cavs, for 14 in the first half. It was just insurmountable. I don't expect too many teams to hit 14 first half threes against the Warriors. I just don't see that happening very often. The Warriors defense is going to give them a chance to win almost every single game they're involved in this season. This was the outlier. This was the anomaly. This is not going to be what we see from the Warriors. I don't expect to see it, at least on Sunday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I guess it's a possibility, because the Thunder, for my money, are probably the best team in the West, probably the best team in all of basketball right now. I think they have a slight edge over the Celtics. But hey, we'll find out on Sunday. And then the Warriors got another tough test with the Mavs coming to town as Klay Thompson returns to Chase Center for the first time wearing another uniform. Warriors are going to give away Captain Klay hats to every single fan in attendance. I'm going to try and get out there at least for the first half. So make sure you guys also try to get out there for that game. You don't want to miss Klay Thompson's return. It's going to be a big, they're going to have a big thing for him on the video board and all that. It's going to be a celebration for Klay Thompson in his return to the Golden State Warriors. One other super quick thing that I thought was interesting today from the random life of Triple E. I also do some work with Stanford Athletics, as those of you who watch the show know, are everydayers. I do some spotting for the football team. I'm also doing some engineering for the basketball team. And today I was watching some Stanford hoops, some matinee Stanford hoops, 1 p.m. start against Cal State Fullerton down at Maples. And guess who I saw sitting courtside? None other than Joe Lacob. And let me tell you, the Stanford Cardinal, they got a 7-foot-tall center, projects to be a second-round guy. And I saw Lacob kind of, keeping his eye on him. So, hey, for what it's worth, start keeping an eye out on some Stanford hoops. Maybe you'll see a future Warrior in the mix. And, it's just always interesting seeing a light years Lacob out in the wild, It's just funny seeing Joe Lacob out. Would you look at that center? He looks like he could fit in great with this Warriors team next year. I need to get some more scouts down here and see what we got going. And that's I'll stop my bad impression of Joe Lacob right there. As we have run out of time for today's show, that's all the time we got for you today. We really could have started this one at halftime. The Warriors were down 41. They clawed their way back, though, lost by less than 20, made somewhat of a game of it late in this one. And I love the never quit mentality of this team. I think that is something that they can hang their hats on. The effort, the want to, the desire of this team is higher than it's been in a long time. The hustle in the heart of a Golden State Warriors is, that is their identity. That is who this team is. That is how they'll win games this season. That's all the time that we got for you guys today. I need to go take a cough drop or something. My throat is dying on its last legs right now. So thanks for tuning in. We'll come to you live Sunday as the Warriors take on the Thunder, and we'll do our thing on the Locked On Warriors postcast as we always do. Thanks for tuning in tonight. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you next time. Peace.